Hello and welcome. It is Iron Raven, back yet again with another new topic of discussion. I've done this before, more of an audio format right now because I'm out and about working, and so there you go. Anyway, yeah, so I wanted to do just my brief little take on the current Blade situation from the MCU, Kevin Feige, and all that. Now, most of us know how much of a badass film those original Blade films were. At least the first two for most people. Obviously, I know Blade Trinity was a little bit lackluster, whatever. But regardless, I mean, those initial films when they came out, knowing the mark that those films had left, just post, 89 Tim Burton's Batman, where we first got like that true, like honest to God, darker, like more serious toned Batman in the late 80s. And then again, like about 10 years later, came Blade. That was even before X-Men, before Spider-Man, before any of that shit. Okay. And the mark that left, knowing that that was a comic book property, knowing it was a insanely badass black superhero-esque character, and knowing the impact that left, I mean, that was just, you can still appreciate that to this day. And at least for me, going into this, as far as Mahershala Ali is concerned as being cast as that, I remember when I saw Alita Battle Angel and I saw that first shot of him in that limo with those shades on, and I remember saying to myself, I was like, that dude looks just like Blade right there. And sure enough, sometime after that, they announced him as being Blade. And so I know it's really just no real chance that Wesley Snipes, they would have brought him back. Although, at least from my perspective, I would have appreciated if they had found a way to reincorporate his Blade into the MCU, knowing that he's basically like the OG of the OG MCU, or like, Marvel films in general of the modern day. And that would, but that probably would have been more at the time where they were actually doing the, actual legitimate, more serious Daredevil and Punisher. And so if they had done it as like a Netflix series, it obviously would have made more sense to have incorporated it in that realm, as opposed to the films now, especially when you look at the Thor Love and Thunders and just how goofy a lot of these are going. And a little bit of comedy is good here and there, but when you go so far into that territory with every single MCU film you do, it starts to lose its touch quite a bit. I mean, that's pretty obvious at this point. So how they would incorporate Blade and PG-13, now, I'm not someone like you have to champion an R rating every single time necessarily. You can go pretty hard, especially like I said, when you go back and look at the Netflix series. Those were essentially R-rated TV shows. The Punisher, Daredevil, they had all kinds of sex scenes and stuff too. I mean, they went pretty hard with a lot of that stuff. So that would have made more sense to me incorporating it, but of course we're long gone from that. I mean, look at what they're doing with Daredevil and She-Hulk, and it's just, wow, unbelievable. And so, especially with the vampire element, I mean, I know we're doing multiverse stuff, but with that, and you just look how hard those original Blade films went, and you really have to bring your A game with this, because knowing that we had a very successful version of this beforehand, and how badass that was. You don't have to necessarily be a big fan, but you can understand just how hardcore those films were, and just how, again, just badass. You really have to bring something to this. And knowing what we heard from the script, knowing they only had like 2 lackluster action scenes, it's only like 90 pages, so that would basically be the equivalent of a 90-minute film. And you're just wondering what is going on. And now, of course, it's just being put on hold. Mahershala Ali is basically just pissed off about it. And just knowing that this, of all things that they've been doing as of late, and knowing how badly they seem to be screwing that up, makes it that much more frustrating. I mean, it's both good and bad. It's good in the sense that it's probably best just to not even do it, because you just know, for a fact that, again, you don't have to be the biggest fan of those original films, but you know that the current state of the MCU, and knowing the type of films that they're putting out and seeing their track record as of late especially, that there's no way that they're going to deliver a Blade film that's even remotely in tune with those originals. And But it's also just so bad just seeing how, for some reason, this film in particular, it just has them at a loss. That, like, they just don't know what the hell that they're doing, to the point where we are now, where they got it on hold, and just the script is just so bad, apparently. So I don't know what to think of this going forward. Whatever we wind up getting eventually, I highly doubt is going to be anywhere near the quality. Is going to lack so much of the punch as those first couple of Blade films. I can't imagine this succeeding in any way, shape, or form, because again, Mahershala Ali in that role, I do think would betray it right. Like I said, he has the look for it, absolutely. And knowing he already played Cottonmouth on Luke Cage, which he was great in that role, some could say that they definitely took a bad turn with him and killing him off the way that they did, and going into season 2 and all that stuff. And so if there was a suitable replacement, it would have been him, and so I was fine with that. But it's a shame to see that they're gonna mess this up so damn badly. I would say it definitely had a better chance when they were doing the Netflix series run, but I don't know. I have really next to no faith in this, and especially knowing that they pulled the whole announcement of Deadpool 3 just completely out of their ass, it seemed. And it seems to suggest that this is one of the reasons why, is because they had to do something. And I don't know how that's going to go either. I mean, I expect it to probably be okay, maybe. I mean, they are making that R-rated. But if you're going to go ahead and throw the fans a bone as far as that, and bringing back, Wolverine, Hugh Jackman, and all that stuff, you may as well try to go all out with this and make it R-rated. I don't know if I see them even bothering with doing that at this point, but honestly, again, considering the standard that was set prior, you have very little options in order to try to make this work. So you really do have to bring it with this, as far as, because anyone, again, the original Blade films, what those brought to the table. There's a standard there, and you have to try to meet that standard as best as possible. I mean, there's just really no other ways around it. You cannot make some half-ass, some completely just product in this day and age with a character like this. You just can't do it. And even for me, being the fan of the Daredevil series and all that stuff, I mean, I know some of the other seasons that came after the initial ones of, like, Jessica Jones and stuff like that, were a bit lackluster and such. But again, if you had it on that street level with those types of characters and stuff, it would have made a lot more sense to me. So I don't know how they would even make this work to begin with. I don't know. It just doesn't fit the tone that's been set by this phase of the MCU. And with vampires, with all that, knowing that, I mean, the Bloodsuckers, I mean, for goodness sake, I mean, we saw those original films. We know what was going on there. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how they really would have done this to begin with, but regardless, I didn't think it would be this bad of a disaster. I don't think most of us realize that. So whatever comes of this, I don't know. I'm almost morbidly curious to see where they go with this. I mean, hell, at this point, it seems like Morbius would be more of a success than this Blade film, but hell if I know. Anyway, yeah, that'll do it for this video. Just know my thoughts on this whole Blade situation. I guess we'll see what happens. I am Iron Raven, and I am out.